When you got hired before you got here, somebody said to me, he's going to be different because before he was just an O-line coach and now he's the head coach. How do you think he'll be different? I said, I promise you, he will not come into that press conference room, take his shoes off, and sit down in a chair and talk to us. That will be different. And so you haven't done that yet, but one of these days I'm going to hold you to that. Danny Ford used to do that every day after
Hey,
practice.
when we get on a winning streak, I'll come out in there with my shoes off.
That'll be great. That'll be great.
I haven't earned the right to take my shoes off yet.
I always trust a guy that will talk to me with his shoes off.
No
That's
doubt.
pretty good. I want to start off with something that I get from fans all the time, and that's they've seen you, on some of these press conferences when they say, well, this guy's really nice, but man, is he going to be able to discipline these players? I mean, they might run all over him. And I said, no, I think he can do that. When we were talking to Barry, he said he was talking about these walks. He said, now he will listen to what you say, but he said at some point, if he's had enough, he will tell you that's enough. Don't press the subject any further. So talk a little bit about how you handle that when you do have to get tough with players, maybe even with staff members.
Oh, it's very easy. I'm not going to let anything fester. Nothing on the field, off the field, with our players. It's not going to fester. So if I have a problem, it's going to be addressed immediately with our coaching staff and with our players. I look at it just being honest. If it's going to bother me that night going home, I'm not going to waste my night thinking about what I'm going to tell somebody tomorrow. So we're going to get it right in what our beliefs are. And I don't think you have to cuss kids out to get that done. But you've seen me on the practice field. You know I'm an intense person, but I don't have any reason to be intense right now.
The other day on the SEC network, you had said that you got some news that you felt like the players should hear, and it had to do with, a possibility that might happen in the summer. And you said you wanted to pass that on because you wanted to give them hope. And
Yeah.
I think fans need hope right now. I've tried to do that. There's a split out there in the fan base. Some people say there's no way they're going to have football. Other people want to be hopeful. And I've always said, why would you be negative? And I've looked for the ways that this might happen. And Dennis Dodd wrote a really good article of CBS Sports yesterday where he talked about a lot of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes to try to make this happen. And one of the things he talked about, and I don't know if you've heard about it, is this group of coaches, trainers, doctors, trying to come up with a way to bring two-a-days back because they've determined that two-a-days weren't the real problem that they thought they. And this was independent of the virus. They had already determined, studies that showed it wasn't as bad as they thought. And so as a part of that, there's this idea you've got to have a certain amount of startup before you do practice. So if you're pushing everything back, how do you get ready for the season? And he said that two-a-days might be a part of that. Have you heard that, and what's your reaction to that?
I haven't heard that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not for sure the players wouldn't like two-a-days better than what we're doing now. There is so much meeting time and so much walkthrough. I don't know if people think that if you're practicing once a day that you have practice and the kids go back to the dorms and hang out the rest of the day. That's, the kids' time is what they're concerned with. Now, obviously, we're concerned with injuries and all that. The kids are concerned about how much time am I going to be over here today. Well, that part of it hasn't really changed. There's the walkthroughs, there's the practice, there's the tape, there's more walkthroughs. So that part of it hadn't changed. I think you could benefit, if they decide to let us do two-a-days. I think, honestly, the coaches would enjoy it. I think the players would enjoy it. Now, that's certainly a way to amp up conditioning, and maybe they could do a practice and say, hey, you can condition for 45 minutes in the afternoon, whatever it may be. But then I think after too long, you'd be worried about the physical toll it takes on your players. But we never worried about two-a-days before. You always let it up to the coach's discretion to see how physical the practice was going to be, how long it was going to be. So I think we have smart enough coaches, and certainly in our league, that whatever they lay down on us, we'll have success with. But I don't see a problem with two-a-days.
There are positive signs out there. I mean, you see some of the states beginning to open up things a little bit this week. we've had the governor, New York's hit the hardest, and he said they're going to start this testing, and testing apparently is a key to opening things up. President Trump said they're going to authorize through the Defense Act millions of test kits so we can find out who already had it. I guess one of the keys is they think a lot more people have gotten it and recovered it than they know. And so
Yes.
to me, there's a lot of things that we may know in a month from now that we don't know now. Are you hopeful? I know the chief medical officer in that article I mentioned, this chief medical officer of the NCAA said he was cautiously optimistic about the playing this fall. When he says that, that made me feel pretty good. What do you see out there that makes you feel positive?
Well, we've stated that there's a great strong possibility we'll open the dorms June 29th. And now everybody knows that there's been a date set and then got dropped back further. I get all that and I understand all that. I'm not a doctor. I don't know when we're supposed to get together, when we're not. That's not my job. But my job is, if we're going to open the dorms the 29th and we start practice, my job is to start practice. And so what I told all our players, hey, dorms open June 29th. Let's get ready to go. What it does, it gives them hope, but it also gives them urgency to come in shape. Then we've also said, hey, we're going to do a little test to see what kind of condition you're in. That was just a little bit more of a push to say, hey, you better get off that couch because this team's rolling when we get back. But I do think hope. What's wrong with hope? I mean, we're not selling falsehoods here. I mean, nobody knows. So why can't okay, this is what I heard. This is concrete. It's positive. Let's sell it. That's what I'm doing.
Started recruiting a little bit. When I got here in 75 and through the years for 10 or 15, 20 years, you could generally recruit about 10, 12, 13 in-state guys, give them scholarships. That was the talent level in this state. And then it started to drop off, and you started to see more like in the 2000s, early 2000s, more like 8, 7, sometimes 6. And there were a lot of reasons for that. They said the Little Rock school system, they were losing athletes. This was a basketball state. More AAU basketball was causing a lot of these guys to play basketball and things like that. But I've noticed that, you guys can't talk about who you offer, but you're making a lot of offers in state. I just want to know what your attitude is about in-state recruiting right now.
We start at home first. Our name is the University of Arkansas. We start in the state of Arkansas. That's what we do. And so what I'm trying to do right now is I'm calling every high school coach in the state of Arkansas. I haven't reached all of them yet, but I call 5 a day, and I've talked to every one of them and that I've called. And we're going to continue to do that until we talk to all of them. And what's happening, our coaches are helping us. They're saying, oh, so-and-so is a good player. Will you check him out? And so, we're trying to get some commitments from the state of Arkansas first. And I think that number is a little bit low. I think, you can get to 10 to 12, somewhere in that area, when recruiting our state. And on a good year, it might be more. But we're sure as heck going to know where they are, and we're going to evaluate them. I can tell you that.
I want to ask you one final question about Kendall Briles and this offense. And I understand you don't want to talk about what happened in the past, but there was a frustration level for the last 2 years about it just couldn't seem to find the right quarterback. And the explanation was always they didn't know the offense well enough when they got in the game. And so talk a little bit about Kendall Briles and whether or not you believe he's going to be able to take these quarterbacks and not just work with them in practice, but when somebody gets tabbed as a starter, they get in the game and they can take that practice to the game and not look like they'd never worked out.
Yeah, it's no doubt in my mind. Kendall has too much pride to put a quarterback out there that's not ready. I mean, he's a prideful person. And if you really want to know, there's a lot of little different things about his offense, but there's a high base core to his offense. And people will, our quarterbacks will know that. I'm pretty sure they know it now. Now they haven't been able to go out and perform that. But this is a very simple offense. There's a lot of twists and turns in it. There's a lot of opportunities for the quarterback to make us right. But if you ask our quarterbacks right now, I think they understand the offense about as good as they possibly can off of film and a piece of paper, because Browse is a great teacher.
All right, Coach, I appreciate it.
We have one more question.
Here, I got it. Let me.
Okay.
You want to ask it? Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask it.
Do you need the?
No, I'm good. Oops.
My man.
Hey, Coach. Hey, so 0 has long been the forbidden number in college football. It's now available today. What are your thoughts on that 0, and how are you going to handle only being able to give it out to 2 guys? And is there going to be like a lottery? How's that going to happen?
I don't know. I think people make a lot out of these numbers. I went to Pittsburgh State. I was 33 in high school. They threw out 96. I'm going, who wore this? And they're going, you. So, I mean, so I don't know it's that big a deal. If my first thoughts on 0 would be possibly to pass that number around from previous game performance. Make something out of it, make it mean something. Problem is, you put a 0 on somebody, then that could be a target for the opponent as well. So I haven't really thought about it much, but if they're allowing us to wear 0, which they are, we're certainly going to have somebody in it. I want that to be more of an earned number than a given to someone coming into our program. I'd rather it be an earned number if somebody wants that number.
And a couple other things with the rules today. The 2-minute time limit for the instant replays. How important is that to speed this game back up, with some of those taking anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes?
Well, I think it's important. Obviously, we want to get it right. But I think that it's very important. Obviously, we need television. So, they're going to get the commercials in. That's just how it is. So we're finding out ways to speed the game up, especially when you're on major TV and things. The game can slow down quite a bit. So I think that's going to be a key to our game and keep our players in rhythm a little bit more.
And the final one with the rule changes, the ejected players get to stay on the sideline. How important is that to just keep them involved with the team? Because they get ejected early, they're gone and they're in the locker room by themselves. And just how important is that to keep them around?
I think it's important simply because we're not parading them off the field. The problems didn't become from, honestly, I didn't think, from the ejection. Obviously, the kids were disappointed and all that, but it was, hey, let's parade you to the locker room. I think it'll help, and I think you'll show character to these kids when they're helping their teammates try to win the football game.
And going back to one of Tara's questions, when you came in, was it just trying to fill yourself out again and just kind of get the lay of the land and what you were going to be as a head coach? Because I go back to when you were here before, and the personality we kept seeing from you. And now I'm seeing it more and more, where maybe when you first got here, it wasn't as prevalent as it was. And I go back to that summit with Nick Floyd and really seeing that personality come out. And I know you have it with the recruits, but I think just publicly, has that been kind of an adjustment, kind of getting back to that?
Yeah, a little bit. Everything happens so fast, and to be honest with you, I think what you just said is I'm not as nervous as I was. I was nervous. I mean, the press conference, I was nervous. I wasn't nervous about being the head coach at Arkansas. I was nervous I was going to cry, to be honest with you. And I'm sitting up there going, I don't want to cry. I don't want to cry. Well, it's hard to be yourself whenever you're going, man, you're going to be a blubber here in a minute, and then as it went on, I became more comfortable. And to be honest with you, I became more comfortable when I got people around me. When I was here, honestly, I was the only guy. There wasn't any coaches, anything like that. So I have become more comfortable. And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of it has to do with the coaches that are around me as well. I feel very comfortable with them, and I'm excited, man.
Yeah, just the excitement now, because it's hard to know what's coming next. But to keep yourself excited, keep the players excited, keep the coaches excited. How important is that as you kind of navigate through the unknown for however long it's going to be an unknown going forward?
Very. I mean, you're either a pessimist or an optimist. I mean, you just are. It's hard to be neutral. You're going to have an opinion, and your body language and your mouth is going to show whichever way you are. I believe that I have the greatest job in college football. I do. And you put a lie detector. I don't know how they hook you up, but put a lie detector. I'm passing that because I believe that. So, you know, it's very easy right now to be optimistic about the University of Arkansas. And if hard times hit us, we're going to be optimistic because we're going to improve. And I believe that with all my heart because of the people we have around us.
Final question. You're a people person. We all know that. How difficult has it been for Sam Pittman to not be able to be out there? Because right now you probably would have gone to 4 or 5 Razorback clubs or whatever, and you know, going to a restaurant and seeing people. You can't do that. So how's Sam Pittman handled that, and how difficult has that been?
It's been hard. I mean, man, you're asking some good questions, by the way. It's been hard, and the most difficult thing has been when our players aren't here. Well, you know how you get a better team? Get a team that believes in you. You get a team that, and it's hard because they're not here. So that's probably the most difficult thing. I love going out in public and visiting with people about Arkansas. They treat me like somebody I'm not. I'm having a good time with it. But I can't do that right now.
Appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, see you.
I'll see you on Wednesday.
You may see Tara tomorrow. If it's not raining, I think you'll see Tara. She's
all right.
Hey, she's looking forward to following you two around.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you.